Guys, welcome back to Rocket Can, my fellow space tubers. So today we are again back with another launch, and today's one is an interesting launch because it is not a payload launch, it is not a satellite launch, and it is not any robotic missions which is being launched. Today we will be witnessing the launch of actual astronauts to the space station. Yes, and it will be done by Roscosmos, as you can see here. Roscosmos has taken the responsibility to go to take three astronauts to the International Space Station, of which two will be of Russian origin and one will be of American origin. So here's the thing. Roscosmos, if you don't know, is the Russian space agency like NASA, and yeah, that's the thing. And it is not private one; it is a government funded. So, hi Labret, how are you? So let's have a look at the Soyuz rocket itself. As in, what do we have in store for us? Soyuz rocket consists, first of all, it looks like this. But here in this, we won't be having a payload here, but instead, what we do have will be the crew module, the propulsion module, means the service module, descent, and all, and of course, the launch abort tower. It won't look like this, but yeah, there will be some changes here. Apart from that, other things will remain same. So, this here we have four boosters. As you can see here, the boosters are kind of a unique in shape. As you can see here, from only they are conical in shape, not cylindrical and then tapered at the ends. No, it is not like that. They're conical in shape and uses RD-107A engines, and which are powered by liquid oxygen and kerosene. So it is not liquid hydrogen and oxygen, it is kerosene and oxygen. So it's the thing. Also, this in as you can see from the picture here, the kerosene is stored in this section and the oxygen is stored in this section. So that's one thing to be noted. It is the first stage boosters burn for approximately 118 seconds and are jettisoned, and the jettisoning of the boosters is very unique event to watch because we get a beautiful Coriolis cross to be formed, and it is a delight to watch it. Yes. So that's about the boosters. And boosters, we don't have a solid rocket booster. These are powered by liquid rocket engines. So Russia is very, you can say, fond of liquid rockets only. They have very less. I don't think so. They have any right now in operational which has solid rocket boosters. So they prefer only and only liquid rockets. So this is the center booster, which this one. This is a long one, as you can see, but here one thing to notice is it is thin from below, and in at an above stage it is, you can say, more wider. And why is it thin from the below side? Because to accommodate those four boosters, and it uses RD-108A engine, and it also runs on that only, the liquid oxygen and kerosene as its fuel. And it has a four combustion chamber, as you can see here, and nozzles along with four vernier thrusters. These vernier thruster, basically these will provide the roll control, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So, and it burns on 286 seconds. So as you can see, it burns little bit longer, and hence it will remains stuck with the rocket after those boosters are separated for some more time, maybe 100 seconds. So yeah, that's the thing. Now we can have a look at the upper stage. So this is the upper stage, as you can see here, and this is an upper stage which is uh, yeah, and this one is basically, as you know, the Soyuz rocket itself is a very old rocket of 1960s era, and to be operational in this era, today they have, what they have changed in this rocket is the digitization of the rocket. Means the avionics have been changed, and hence this stage is, you can say, updated with new computers and all. So that's the thing. and we won't be having the frigate upper stage. That's what we have for the rocket. It has a payload capacity of around 3.2 tons for geotransfer orbit, but the orbit which we will be going for today is that low Earth orbit. Now we can have a look at the payload mission profile. So hi David Silva, let's go Kate. Yes, let's see. This is the mission profile we have. So as you can see, it will be launched by Roscosmos and the customer will be Roscosmos and NASA. There will be 3 astronauts which will be launching. The launch location will be Baikonur Cosmodrome. Payload mass is around 7,080 tons, and yeah, they does not have any reuse capability, so they will be just be jettisoning everything and it will crash onto the land. And this is the thing. So they will be launching 3 astronauts. Who are they here we have Sergey Ryzhikov, Sergey Kud-Sverchkov and Kate Rubins. I know I must have said that wrong, but we have these 3 crew members which will replace the existing crew members after they will go to the reach the space station. After 9 days or so, the other members will depart from the space station to come to home. So that's the thing. And this is the Soyuz MS-17 mission. This is the upper stage, means the crew module. This is how it looks like. It has solar panels, it has propulsion, and the solar panels are kind of a very the design which you are seeing is a very old design of 1960s era only. They haven't upgraded it. They must have updated is the you can say the avionics only. Okay, and this is the rocket. As you can see, we won't be having the fairing. Instead what we will be having is this: the launch abort tower, the module, and yeah, that's the thing. So this is what I was talking about, the Coriolis cross. This is how it looks like, and it is very delight to watch it, so I'll be excited for this. And yeah, this is the upper stage engine, RD0110 engine, which will be used. And yeah, the Soyuz MS variant has 3 sections, as you can see from the picture only. It has 3 sections, this and this. So the orbital module, the descent module, and the service module. The orbital module, so first of all, the service module has nothing but the life support systems, solar panel, life support system, and propulsion. The orbital module is the forward part of the spacecraft, which docks to the ISS, and it is the part of the spacecraft where the crew will spend most of their time. So the one thing to be noted here is today's mission is a very fast track one. They will be only on a 2 orbit rendezvous with the ISS, and it will be only a 3-hour journey. Yes, and to make sure that this happens very fastly, they have actually adjusted the orbit of space station to make this happen. So that's a very cool thing to have. So hi Soviet Army. Roll to rocket. Soyuz rocket version. Okay, so if you wanna see that, this is the Soyuz rocket version we have. The evolution of the vehicle, as you can see, we had the first in 1957. We had this one, the R7 test vehicle. Then we have the Sputnik launcher. As we all know, it launched the Sputnik satellite to the orbit in 1957 only. And then in 1960 they have Vostok. This is also you can say a human spaceflight capable one, but it was a shorter one. And then we have Voskhod launcher, a 3K V launcher in 1963, and then finally in 1966 we have Soyuz 7K OK launcher. So this in 1966 it was developed and it is still in use today. And the thing which have been updated are the hardware, the computers, and yeah, that's the thing. So this is the mission profile, which will be look like the first of all, yeah, there will be the launch. then the module will separate. Then there will be a two orbit rendezvous only to the space station, and then it will finally arrive at the space station, and yeah, I think will be good. So now we can switch over to the stream only.
Where NASA and Roscosmos support teams and officials will be watching the events unfold.
Here we go. This is the live view of the Soyuz rocket.
MS-17 spacecraft will be docking with the Rosvet docking port on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the space station. Once there, the crew will join the 3 current space station residents on board. That's NASA astronaut and space station commander Chris Cassidy, and Russian cosmonauts Anatoly Ivanishin and Ivan Wagner. They arrived at the space station aboard Soyuz MS-17 in April. Sergey Ryzhikov will take over as the Expedition 64 commander at the change of command ceremony before the crew goes to bed on October 20th, day prior to Cassidy, Ivanishin, and Wagner undocking from the station and returning to Earth aboard Soyuz MS-16. Rubins, Ryzhikov, and Kud-Sverchkov will be left behind to celebrate the 20th anniversary of human presence on board the International Space Station, which is coming up soon now on November 2nd.
Oh, okay. So as you can see here, guys, we have the live view from the Houston, and you just saw that rocket also standing on the launch pad, and hopefully we will be able to see everything and just enjoy the stream. And if you have any questions, you can just ask me in the chat, and if I have the answer, I'll surely try to answer that. And if you are guys new to this channel, I host live streams of every rocket launch that happens in the space industry. So if you are a space lover, a rocket launches lover, and also if you are rocket science lover, because I post many rocket science related videos, so you can have all that thing on this channel. So subscribe if you like that.
Using the hashtag AskNASA. We'll try and answer a few of those soon, so go ahead and send them in.
So as you can see, we can see the launch abort tower above. We can see that, and why do we have
Today's launch marks the second flight into space for NASA astronaut Kate Rubins, the second for Russian cosmonaut and Soyuz MS-17 commander Sergey Ryzhikov, and the first for Russian cosmonaut Sergey Kud-Sverchkov of Roscosmos. Let's take a moment to learn more about Dr. Kate Rubins, NASA's next astronaut to fly in space, and her work aboard the International Space Station.
The reason that you would do any kind of experiment in space is if there's something particular about the space environment, and most often that is microgravity. So mostly the ISS gives us the ability to either do something that we can't do in a facility on Earth, or investigate some phenomenon, some property in a way that we can't on Earth. So for example, some of the tissue architecture, these really delicate tissues, as you start to build them up, they would collapse because you have gravity, or the cells would naturally settle to the bottom of the plate. And so you just can't study the answer to the question that you're looking for. So the space station lets us have that ability to either test what the effect of gravity is, or remove that problem entirely from our experimental setup.
So Julian, Julian is asking, do you know when the Crew MS-16 will be undocking? Basically, we don't have a rigid date till now, but the turnaround time after a crew visits the space station and the crew which is existing there to leave the space station is around 9 days. So October 21, yes, as he said. So let's hope it's October 21 only. But I don't know, is it October 21 or not? I don't know.
Pretty excited to open the container and do whatever experiment that day brought. I also really got a chance to talk to those PIs, the principal investigators, and those scientific teams, and understand everything that was going on behind their experiments and read their papers. So by the time I got to doing the experiment, I was pretty excited to to take it out and to see what was going to change in microgravity. Yeah, science in space, it's an amazing lab and it's incredibly fun. So we are smiling all the time.
Yes,
I'm Kate
Labrador, you are
Rubins.
right.
I'm a
It is
scientist
October
and an
21.
astronaut.
You want Soviet back? Soviet back, okay. Actually, they developed, I would also say this thing, the engines which they developed in that era was very high tech. In the Soviet area, the engines, the rocket engines were they developed. The the US
Raised in Napa,
engineers
California,
weren't
NASA
able to
astronaut
develop
Dr.
those
Kate Rubins
engines
conducted her
which
undergraduate research on
Soviet had
HIV-1
developed.
integration in the Infectious Diseases
And
Laboratory at the Salk Institute
Yeah,
for
that was a
Biological
pretty
Studies,
good
earning a bachelor's
accomplishment of
degree
them
in molecular
time.
biology from the University of California, San Diego in 1999. She earned a PhD in cancer biology from Stanford University Medical School's Biochemistry Department and Microbiology and Immunology Department. With the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Rubins and her colleagues developed the first model of smallpox infection. She also studied pox virus and virus-host interactions. Rubins then accepted a fellowship position as a principal investigator at the Whitehead Institute for Biomedical Research at MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and headed a lab of 14 researchers studying viral diseases that primarily affect Central and West Africa. She presented her work at numerous international scientific conferences
Okay.
and was published in many scientific journals. Then, in July 2009, after applying on a whim, Rubins was selected as one of 9 members of the 2009 NASA astronaut class. She launched into space for the first time aboard Soyuz MS-17 in 2016 as part of Expeditions 48 and 49. During that mission, Rubins became the first person to sequence DNA in space. In addition, she conducted 2 spacewalks along with astronaut Jeff Williams, installing the first docking port for U.S. commercial crew spacecraft. Rubins is seated to the right of the Soyuz commander, Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergey Ryzhikov, who is returning to space for the second time today. Born in Bogulma, Tatarstan, Russia, Ryzhikov went to high school and young aviators school in the Tyumen region of Russia. Afterward, he attended
Hey.
Katya Air Force Pilot School, graduating in 1996 as a pilot engineer. Ryzhikov served as a pilot in the Russian Air Force from 1996 to 2007. By the time of his selection by the Cosmonaut Corps, he was a military pilot of the second class, having logged more than 700 flight hours piloting the L-9 and MiG-29 planes. He is certified as a military officer diver and paratrooper instructor with more than 350 parachute jumps. After beginning his training in 2006 as a member of Class 14 of the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center Cosmonaut Corps, Ryzhikov completed basic spaceflight training in 2009, qualifying as a test cosmonaut. His first trip into space was in 2016 as the Soyuz MS-02 commander and as a flight engineer for space station expeditions 49 and 50. While aboard, he conducted dozens of Russian science program experiments in medicine, space biology, biotechnology, physics, and chemistry, among others. His call sign is Favor, a reference to Mount Tabor in Israel. Ryzhikov is serving as the MS-17 commander and will become a space station commander as well when Expedition 64 begins. Seated to his left is first-time flyer Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergey Kud-Sverchkov. Born in Leninsk, now Baikonur, in the Kizloder region of
Guys, I
Kazakhstan,
want to tell you one thing that this launch is kind of unique for America also,
in 2006, he
because
graduated with
this
a first-class
could be
honors
the
degree from
last
Moscow
launch
Biomedical
of
Technical
the
University as a rocket engine
American
engineer.
astronaut from the Russian
He went on
soil.
to serve
Because
in
after
multi-year
that,
rocket and
as you
space
know, there is
operations
a
as
success
engineer
of
from 2006
this
to 2009. In
commercial crew program
2010,
by
he was appointed
SpaceX,
to Class
and
17 of the Energio
the
rocket and
Crew-1
space
mission, if
propulsion cosmonaut
successful,
corps,
then they will
completing his
surely
training and
ditch
qualifying as a test
this
cosmonaut in 2012. From
Russians
August 2012 to October
to have
2013, he took
the
advanced
seat
training,
booked onto
specializing in
the
the space station
rocket.
program.
What they will do
Working from
is
the left
they
seat
will
today in the Soyuz
launch from the
MS-17 flight
US
engineer
soil
one,
only. And
Kud-Sverchkov will
what
serve aboard the space
even
station as an
what
Expedition
will
64
happen is
flight.
the Russians will buy seat in the SpaceX Falcon 9. So yeah, that
That's
will
it.
be
We
a
are
cool
taking
sight to
questions
watch.
online via the hashtag AskNASA. So if
OG
you're following
Bacon
along on
says
social media, you
Challenger
can get your
flashbacks.
questions into us. And we
Okay.
have a couple that have already been submitted that we'll go ahead and try to answer for you now. This first one coming from Rob Wood in the UK, asking, when will Chris Cassidy return from the space station? Cassidy is on board now with 2 other Russian cosmonauts, and they are all going to be returning next week. They'll have just a short handover time where they can make sure that their colleagues that are on their way today will be ready to take care of the space station once they've left, and then they will be coming home on October 21st. Just
Okay.
like tonight, you'll be able to watch all of our coverage of those events, starting with their undocking and then a return to Kazakhstan, where they'll be touching down. That coverage will begin at 7 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday, October 21st, just a week from now. We also have a second question, this one coming from Omar, and asking whether or not astronauts ever suffer from motion sickness. And it varies from astronaut to astronaut, but there are definitely some who suffer from a little bit of motion sickness when they first go to space, and then also when they return from space, they tend to have they can have trouble adjusting to the return of gravity in their lives. That can be a little rough on both ends. So when they arrive at the space station, they're given a little time to adjust. There's some time built into their schedule specifically for microgravity adjustment. And then once they return, a lot of times you'll see the people who are supporting them on the ground being very careful to help them move around, make sure that they've got some support once they get out of the spacecraft and onto solid ground again, to make sure that they have all the help that's possible adjusting to that first feel of gravity for once after they've returned.
Guys, if you
keep
like
sending those in using
what
the
I
hashtag
do, you can just support me on Patreon. The link is in the description. I would really appreciate if you can do that. And yeah.
Kate Rubins explaining that during a recent news conference.
The 64 patch is actually a photograph that I took when I was on board ISS the last time. And it's the underside of the International Space Station as we're flying over city lights in Europe. And so you can see all the lights of these cities being reflected on the underside of the space station. I just thought it was this great analogy of the connectedness between Earth and space, and the fact that you've got lights in these cities down below, and they're reflected in the space station. And then you can see, of course, the space station pass overhead one of those cities at night.
Back now with a live view of the Soyuz on the launch pad in Baikonur as we continue our coverage of the launch of Kate Rubins, Sergey Ryzhikov, and Sergey Kud-Sverchkov to the International Space Station. We're now 45 minutes away from today's launch, with liftoff scheduled for 12:45 a.m. Central Time, 10:45 a.m. in Baikonur. And just a reminder that we are taking those questions, so keep sending them in using the hashtag AskNASA.
So the view which you are seeing is the Soyuz rocket only, and once everything is good, then it will be in launch position.
16:3. This is the tabors. The time is 4:3:20. 1 minute 21 seconds for the first, 1:41 for the second.
What?
The pressure is 816 in the descent module.
Have they changed the time?
Oxygen
He just said.
Pressure is 209.
He just said we have 45 minutes from the launch, and now it is saying 30 minutes. Wow.
In the tanks of the PHO,
well, that's weird.
the second section is 208 and 224 in the second section as well. Tabor, I am 16.3. I understand that the suits are airtight. I've also received the pressure on oxygen inside the vehicle. I understand.
I don't know the clock is right or not. Basically, she's right now said we have 45 minutes, and where is that 15 minutes buffer? Okay, cool. I have adjusted the time, but I don't know if it is correct or not. Because the liftoff time is for around for 45 minutes only, but I don't know.
Фаворы S-17, можем включить вам музыку. По связи, Фаворы, да, мы готовы. Докладываем, что сигнализация состав воздуха.
As I was saying, you can send in your questions to us using the hashtag
As you can
AskNASA, and we've
see,
got a few more ready for you now. The next one coming from
people
Prathi,
there.
who is asking, how long will these astronauts stay on board the space station? The plan right now is for them to stay about 6 months, which is about the standard amount of time. That is always a little dependent on circumstances, but in this case, and for the most part, the astronauts will stay about 6 months at a time, which gives them a good chance to get very used to the International Space Station and really dig in on the work that goes on there and contribute to the science that the space station does and keep it in good working order. And we also have another one, this one coming in from Dan, asking how many astronauts can the space station accommodate and how many are there at this time. Right now, we've just got the 3 members of the Expedition 63 crew waiting for this new influx of astronauts who are on their way today. Once they get there, of course, there will be 6 for a short amount of time, and then they will soon be joined by the SpaceX Crew-1 crew. They'll be launching in November and joining them. That'll add 4 more people to the space station, bringing that total of up to 7, which we are hoping to have be kind of the normal number for the space station crew now that our commercial crew partners are beginning to launch crew to the International Space Station. That's not the limit of what the space station can accommodate, though. That'll be kind of the normal operating amount, but when there are handovers, like we'll be experiencing this week, while Chris Cassidy is welcoming Kate Rubins and her crewmate to the space station, there will be a few more there, so there could be as many as about 9 or 10 there at a time.
Copy it well, thank you.
So, and you can feel the music also that they usually
Here in
play.
just a moment, we'll begin seeing some video that's been recorded over the course of the day as the crew walk through their activities leading up to today's launch.
Oh, okay. So it's a pre-recorded one.
But once again, you can keep submitting those questions using the hashtag
That's
AskNASA,
what
and we'll
I
try
was
and take a few more
thinking.
before today's
We can't
broadcast is
have
over.
people right now. It's so much less time from the launch, and fuel must have been loaded. And we just can't have people. So it's a pre-recorded one. So okay, cool. Let's hope everything is good with this launch. And this Soyuz capsule is very tight, basically in the space.
And here is the promised video showing what the crew has been up to today as they prepared for their launch. The day's activities in Baikonur began several hours ago as the crew was awakened around 2 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday, or midnight local time on Wednesday in Baikonur, about 10 hours and 45 minutes ahead of their launch. Crew members here you see participating in that time-honored tradition that they always do in Baikonur, signing the doors of the rooms that they stayed in at their crew quarters, or at the Cosmonaut Hotel in the town of Baikonur. Around 5:45 p.m. Central on Tuesday, 3:45 a.m. Wednesday in Baikonur. The crew then departed the Cosmonaut Hotel and boarded a bus for a 40-minute ride to the Integration and Suit-Up Facility. That's Building 254 inside the Baikonur Cosmodrome. You can see them walking out from the hotel here. The crowd much more limited than usual due to the restrictions associated with the coronavirus precautions. Still just a few people who were able to attend, that carefully controlled, but normally the crew's family would be there, as well as a pretty good contingent of VIPs, but that wasn't possible for this launch due to those precautions.
Okay. The Soviet Army says I want this launch failed. Oh no. No. That won't be happening. Don't worry. It will be a total success.
Rubins, Ryzhikov, and Kud-Sverchkov again getting on the bus here to take that 40-minute ride to the building where they get into their spacesuits, the integration and suit-up facility. Waving some final goodbyes to the crowd that was able to come out and watch. The crew spends their last few weeks ahead of launch in that hotel. They have a little bit of time to rest and do some last-minute studying, making sure that they are ready for the launch and all the activities that come along with it.
Okay, that's cool. So in the commercial crew program, as you just saw, there they used the Tesla Model X for the departure and going to the rocket, but here they are using some bus.
And pulling away here from the Baikonur, the Cosmonaut Hotel in Baikonur, again heading to the building where they get into their so-called spacesuits. This ride takes about 40 minutes, and then they arrive at the integration building where each crew member underwent final medical exams and then suited up in their launch and entry suits. The suits are pressurized to ensure that they're free from leaks. As program officials look on through protective glass that helps them maintain quarantine.
Okay.
Suit up takes about 5.5 hours, or
wow.
is completed about 5.5 hours ahead of launch.
5.5 hours. I didn't know about that. Yes, Labrat, you are right. They have amazing success with the rockets.
Sergey Ryzhikov
and
there,
with very less rockets going to a failure. And almost 100% success with Soyuz in case of human safety. They have the Soyuz rocket has also exploded, but they haven't lost the crew. We are just 20 minutes from the launch to happen, and just be with me and enjoy the view of the launch and the launch itself. This is kind of a cool thing to watch itself, as in how the astronauts prepare themselves, how they wear these suits and everything, because the SpaceX commercial crew does not have this. They have very clean looking spacesuits, as you all know. So yeah, because Elon Musk is known for its aesthetics and yeah, those kind of things. So that's why you could expect.
And NASA astronaut Kate Rubins here getting into her suit.
To look very good.
This again all took place about 5 hours ago. In the integration and suit-up facility at the Baikonur Cosmodrome, that's building 254. It's the crew's first stop after leaving the Cosmonaut Hotel. They went through a series of checks here to make sure the suits were leak-free and would be ready to serve them during today's launch.
So this just
and
slapped
taking a
there.
few minutes there to grab a little bit of rest before the launch, which is now just 34 minutes away.
34
Again, this
minutes?
video was recorded earlier during the day as the crew was making their final preparations. Once again, this is a view of Kate Rubins getting her spacesuit ready to go.
Let's hope it is 34 minutes. I don't know. The clock is saying something else. Let's hope.
It is a long day for the crew with those with their wake-up call coming again about 10 hours and 45 minutes ahead of their launch, and quite a bit of time to go once they do launch to make their way to the International Space Station, although this trip will be shorter than any previous trip that the Soyuz crews have made. We'll be making this trip in just 2 orbits rather than the usual 4 or even more.
So Labrat says the suits are definitely more cumbersome than US. Yes, it is. Esteban says love Russian space suits. Yes, they are unique in itself only. They actually look like astronauts being sent to the space. The typical astronaut space suits. So yeah, they're the astronaut space suits which we have every time imagined and drawn like in
Seeing those
kids.
leak checks that occurred earlier today here. The crew is also in real time going through some final leak checks as well, and that was actually completed just a moment ago. All good readings from those leak checks, so they should be ready to take off on time at 12:45 a.m. Central tonight.
But why is she repeating again and again that time and the clock says something else? Let's hope. Let's see whatever is there. But the thing which you are noticing here, can you see that they are wearing masks inside the spacesuit? Well, that is changed, but I don't know whether it will require also to wear a mask inside the spacesuit. Well, let's let's see if it is this thing is there only during this practice or during this integration of the spacesuit only, and we don't have that in actual launch. Let's see. We have the views from the rocket itself.
Continuing to see video from today's earlier preparations. This again was the crew's first stop after they left the Cosmonaut Hotel this morning. Here seeing Kate Rubins get her suit leak check.
And that the crew which
And
is
the crew
standing
here
behind
is
is the
pausing for a
backup
photo
crew.
op with their backup crew members.
Exactly. So
And
if
just on the other side of the glass, out of view here, number of VIPs and guests are watching. Again, a smaller group than usual, but still a good number of people interested in their launch, all behind a glass that helps protect the crew members. That glass is always there, but especially important right now with the COVID restrictions that are protecting them before they make their way to the International Space Station. Those have been very, very strictly watched throughout.
Good morning. Happy birthday, Kate. We have a great space station that's waiting the 3 years arrival, and we're looking forward to seeing you on orbit, all 3 of you. Congratulations. Woo!
With Space Station Program Manager Joe Montalbano giving his well wishes to the crew.
We will be glad to see you in a few hours, just a little over 3 hours after launch. When you arrive on station, have a safe trip and a great arrival on station.
Labrat says, will they be fixing the leak on
It
ISS
is an
soon,
honor
and
to
have they found the
continue
hole?
this tradition. You started it, Mr. Krikalev, and we are continuing it 20 years later. Thank you.
Yes, Labrat, they
Okay,
have
let's
found
get
the
down to
hole
work.
and they
Thank
must
you.
have fixed it also till now. Not sure, but they have, because the leak was around 1 week to 2 week old, and they must have found the solution for it.
Following those leak checks and some final well wishes from those managers and from NASA and Roscosmos there who were watching the proceedings. They again went on to maintain tradition and strode out of the Site 254 integration building towards Russian managers to declare one final time that they're ready for launch. This is taking place about 8:59 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday, 4:59 a.m. Wednesday in Baikonur. And here you can see them boarding their bus again, this time for the ride to Launch Pad 31.
Wow.
All the best of luck to everyone. Everything will be great. You will be awesome.
Your side.
You're the best.
Oh,
You're the best.
Is this hugging allowed? Oh, yeah,
Final
he's a
goodbyes
backup
also
crew
to their
member, so
backup
he
crew,
can.
now relieved of their duty. That was Mark Vandehei that Kate Rubins was saying goodbye to there. The drive to the pad took about 50 minutes, and they arrived at 10:14 p.m. Central Time, or 8:14 a.m. Wednesday in Baikonur.
Так, пожалуйста, внимание.
Okay, please look here.
And of course, this would not be the time to trip and fall, and those Sokol spacesuits aren't the easiest thing to walk in, so they're helped carefully there to the to their rocket, where they climb just a few stairs, turn to wave goodbye to well-wishers before getting into an elevator for a ride to the top of their Soyuz rocket. It's where they board their spacecraft,
Okay.
which they've now been inside of for the past 2 hours.
Сережа!
Sergey Ryzhikov there, Sergey Kud-Sverchkov and Kate Rubins there, waving their final goodbyes before they get into their
Yes,
Soyuz
Labrat, you are
spacecraft.
right. Because
Preparing
I
for a launch that is now
didn't see
just
that
26
in
minutes
first
away.
view, but after seeing that, he was a part of a backup group. So yeah, he can, because they all were in quarantine.
We go.
So now, please. Oh, so here's the view of
And we're back
inside the
now with a
capsule.
live view of the crew inside their Soyuz MS-17, ready for launch.
So time is there only. We have 15 minutes. Here we go. She just switched on the the song. As you can see, they don't have much leg room and
You can
those
see
things.
here on the bottom corner, or bottom left-hand corner, Sergey Ryzhikov, who is the Soyuz commander for its trip to the International Space Station. And on the top right-hand side of the screen, Sergey Kud-Sverchkov. Out of view here is Kate Rubins, who is on Ryzhikov's other side, just out of view.
Is a very, you can say, a tight place to sit in. Exactly. That's why there is a fast track orbit today. There is a fast track every time, but today they will be just reaching in 3 hours. So it will be a very good thing to have and see. And here we go. The Kate Rubins is here.
And there we're seeing astronaut Kate Rubins in her seat to the right of Sergey Ryzhikov, waving to the audience and ready for her launch, coming up now in 24 minutes and 14 seconds.
Have a safe trip. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Okay, is this a tradition to play the song before the launch? Well, cool. Bellamar, I don't understand
And another
Russian. If you
live view
can
of the
type in
Soyuz
English, then
MS-17
I'll
on
be
the
able
launch
to
pad in Baikonur. Liftoff
answer.
scheduled for 12:45 a.m. Central Time, 10:45 a.m. in Baikonur. Top the rocket, and within the Soyuz spacecraft, as we just saw, are Kate Rubins, Sergey Ryzhikov, and Sergey Kud-Sverchkov. Now just 23 minutes away from their launch.
He's again and again saying the time, which is kind of, I don't know. Why is it 15 minutes behind the clock? Is it or what? I don't know. He's again and again saying the
The whole
time.
Soyuz
Okay, so
spacecraft
here
is
we have
24.5 feet long with an overall volume of 177 cubic feet and comprised of 3 modules. The descent module, situated in the middle of the Soyuz vehicle, contains customized seats for the crew members during launch, entry, and landing, and contains all the controls and displays necessary for the flight. It also houses life support systems, batteries for the re-entry and landing, and the parachute and soft landing rocket engines that slow the Soyuz just before touchdown as the spacecraft lands in Kazakhstan. There are 8 hydrogen peroxide thrusters located on the module, which are used to control the spacecraft's orientation, or attitude, during the descent until parachute deployment. The descent module also contains a guidance, navigation, and control system used to maneuver the vehicle during the descent phase of the mission. This descent module is 7.3 feet long with a diameter of 7.1 feet and a habitable volume of 124 cubic feet. It is the only portion of the Soyuz that survives the return to Earth. The orbital module at the top is 9.8 feet long. It connects to the descent module via pressurized hatch. This is where the crew has a small amount of room to move around following launch during the flight to the space station. It has a docking mechanism, hatch, and rendezvous antennas located at the front end. The docking mechanism is used to dock with the space station, and the hatch allows entry into the orbiting complex. The rendezvous antennas are used by the automated docking system, which uses radar, to maneuver toward the station for docking. There is also a forward-looking window in the module that the crew can use to take manual measurements of distance and closing speed with a laser rangefinder in the event of failure of the rendezvous radar system. The propulsion module houses the oxygen storage tanks, the main engine, and the attitude control thrusters, avionics, and communication and control equipment. The propulsion portion of this module handles all orbital maneuvers, including those needed for the rendezvous with the space station and the deorbit burn at the end of the spacecraft's mission. Before they are deployed, the 2 solar arrays are folded against the body of the propulsion module, which, along with the orbital module, separates from the descent module after the deorbit burn. The solar panels span almost 35 feet. The entire spacecraft serves not only as a crew transport vehicle to and from the space station, but also as an emergency return vehicle in the unlikely event that the crew needs to leave the station unexpectedly.
okay.
We're back now with the live view of the
We can
Soyuz on the
see.
launch pad and in Baikonur.
Here
Just
we
20
have
minutes to go now before today's liftoff, with launch scheduled for 12:45 a.m. Central. That's 10:45 a.m. in Baikonur. And as we promised earlier, we're going to be taking some more Ask NASA questions. If you have one, you can send it to us using the hashtag AskNASA on social media.
We are transitioning to the information units. I copy you. We have selected the information units on the right and the left.
as now you can see
We'll take a couple more of those questions now, but again, keep sending them in because we'll be
those arms have
answering them
retracted
throughout the night.
for the launch position.
Our first one here now is from Sebastian asking, can astronaut Kate Rubins speak Russian? And she can. All astronauts who go to the International Space Station are required to speak both English and Russian. So Kate Rubins can speak Russian, and Sergey Ryzhikov and Sergey Kud-Sverchkov can both speak English as well. You can find that individuals vary on how comfortable they are with the language, but they at least have some baseline proficiency. That's I've heard particularly challenging, however, for our international partners from Japan and Canada, and not so much Canada since they speak English to begin with, but from the European countries who may not be speaking English as their foreign language because they learn Russian via English. So they are learning a foreign language while speaking a foreign language. And we have another question now from Brandon, who is asking, what role does NASA Mission Control play in the launch from Baikonur? The team here in the Flight Control Room in Mission Control Houston is monitoring the events going on in Baikonur, but they don't have a great deal to do with the actual launch and ascent. What they are working on, however, is making sure that the International Space Station is ready for the Soyuz to dock to it later tonight. That docking is coming up at 3:52 a.m. Central Time, so it'll be a particularly short amount of time to get ready once launch is completed, but everything looking good on this end as well. They've been working ahead to make sure that when the Soyuz arrives, the Rosvet docking port and the crew on board will all be ready to greet it.
There we go, the song. And guys, here we if you are new to this channel, let me just tell you that in this channel you will find the rocket launch of every every rocket launch that happens in the space industry, posted live with me, and all other space related videos, rocket science. And if you are kind of that person, you can consider subscribing for a one-stop solution for every problem. And you can also support me on Patreon. That really means a lot. The Patreon gets some perks also, so you can consider becoming a Patreon. The link is in the description.
Practice to stay mentally healthy and maintain their cognitive functions in space. That is a very important piece of the puzzle for astronauts working on board the International Space Station. One of the things that is part of the astronauts' training once they arrive at NASA and become astronauts is what we call expeditionary skills, and that is making sure that you are a good team member, you're serving your team well, and that can mean taking care of yourself, self-care, or taking care of your teammates, also being a leader or a follower as the situation calls for. That's a major part of their training, alongside more practical things like International Space Station systems and spacewalk training, but it's an important part of the training. Once again, you can send those questions in using the hashtag AskNASA on social media. We'll try to take a few more of the...
Favors, you are 10 minutes out from launch.
For those just joining us, you're looking at a live view of the Soyuz...
So, Borislav says, is this the last flight from Russian soil for NASA astronauts before the regular SpaceX Dragon capsule schedule, which is Crew-1 launch scheduled on October 31? Okay, so yeah, you can say that if and only if the Crew-1 is successful, then NASA can, you can say, happily give up with the Soyuz being launched to the space station. They can then use their own SpaceX Falcon 9 and the Crew Dragon to launch the astronauts to the space station. So yeah, you can technically say that, but that will surely be dependent on the success of the Crew-1 mission. So that's the thing. And after that, if it is the Crew-1 mission is successful, and after that, you can say after some time, the Russians can also book their seat in the SpaceX Crew Dragon.
13 minutes away from launch now, and we have some info for you now on the booster that will carry the crew into space today.
The Soyuz rocket stands 162 feet tall, weighs about 640,000 pounds, and consists of the Soyuz MS-17 spacecraft inside a protective shroud at the top and the three-stage Soyuz 2.1A booster below. The spacecraft was mated to its booster, and the three main stages were joined together on Saturday. Just 24 hours later, on Sunday, the Soyuz rocket began its trek to the launch pad right at 7 a.m. Baikonur time, arriving less than 2 hours later, where it was raised into a vertical position for final pre-launch preparations. Now poised for launch with its three crew members on board, the Soyuz spacecraft sits high above the three stages of the Soyuz booster, which uses kerosene and liquid oxygen as the propellant. The first stage has 4 liquid engines strapped to the side of the core vehicle. Each will burn for 1 minute and 58 seconds before they drop away. The core engine of the first stage also serves as the second stage and continues to burn until 4 minutes and 57 seconds into the flight. The third stage has a single engine that will ignite before the separation of the second stage, helping to push it away safely. It will burn until the 8 minutes and 46 seconds mark of the flight, and at that point the Soyuz spacecraft will separate from the third stage, having arrived at its preliminary orbit.
Exactly.
Back now with a live view of the Soyuz on the pad in Baikonur. Just 12 minutes now from today's liftoff, scheduled for 12:45 a.m. Central, 10:45 in Baikonur.
Guys, if you haven't liked the stream,
Getting
just
a
give
lot
it a
of questions
like.
on social media
Because
about the music that we're hearing. That is played for the benefit of the crew and chosen by the crew. Don't have information on which crew member chose which particular songs that they get to hear, but it's possible that
okay.
any
So
of them
I was
could
right.
have.
Playlist is selected
One of the
by
other
astronaut.
things that the crew gets to choose is the zero gravity indicator that they take with them into space.
Okay. Food is also, they have some say on that. What kind of food they want. And if you don't know what a zero gravity indicator is,
for this mission, the
all.
zero gravity indicator that the crew uses is a small knitted cosmonaut that was made by Sergey Kud-Sverchkov's wife. This will be hanging from the ceiling of the Soyuz so that they are able to tell when it no longer hangs and starts to float that they have successfully made it to microgravity and are in space. Each crew is able to choose a different talisman to serve that purpose.
Okay. So as she explained, only this is a zero gravity indicator which they use to check whether they have acquired the microgravity or not, or is there any forces on the rocket, the capsule, which is acting. Oh wow.
One other milestone to note today before we get into the last few minutes of the countdown is that it is astronaut Kate Rubin's birthday. She will be launching with an extremely big birthday candle, making her way to the International Space Station and having an extra reason to celebrate today. Representatives are watching just a short distance away from the launch pad in Baikonur. For an update on activities there, we're going to go now to NASA Public Affairs Officer Rob Navius.
Brandy, it has been a very different atmosphere at the Baikonur Cosmodrome than we're typically accustomed to in the run-up to launch. So many global events have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and this launch is no different. Stringent precautions have been taken to ensure that the crew remains isolated from everyone except essential personnel. And face masks and social distancing are the name of the game here for everyone and anyone in close proximity to the crew or Russian and American support teams. There are no family members attending launch and no VIPs for this final crewed launch of the year. Kate Rubins and her crewmates are ready for a super-fast express ride to the space station. This first two-orbit scheme for the crew, following 5 two-orbit test runs with Progress cargo ships. Ironically enough, it will take us around an hour to get back into the town of Baikonur from our launch complex viewing site at Site 31. It'll take just 3 hours for Rubins and her crewmates to arrive at the International Space Station. Nonetheless, even with just a fraction of the people usually in attendance here, the excitement is as palpable as ever as we approach launch. That's it from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Now back to you at Mission Control in Houston.
Yay.
Thanks, Rob. We're now at the T-minus 7-minute point. Pre-launch operations are complete. At this point in the countdown, the Soyuz's first and second stage engines are ready for launch, and telemetry has been received from the rocket, indicating that all primary and backup systems are set to support liftoff.
Yes, Borislav,
at the time of launch,
to all the 3 crew
6
members,
minutes and 40 seconds now, the
best.
International Space Station is going to be flying 259 miles over northwest Uzbekistan at the border of Kazakhstan, 339 miles ahead of the Soyuz as it leaves the launch pad. The launch is precisely timed for the moment when the Earth's rotation will place the Baikonur Cosmodrome in the plane of the orbit of the space station.
It will be the space station will be just overhead the Baikonur Cosmodrome, and then they will be launching. That's what we call the launch window. And why is it that? That's a pretty long thing to explain, but yeah. In short, if I would have to say that, the answer will be
6
orbital
minutes now
mechanics.
until launch. At this point, the launch key has been inserted in the launch bunker. That's a real key that transitions the launch sequence into automatic mode.
Okay. So we are now just under 6 minutes from the launch, and this is actually getting now to the lift off event. We have been waiting for so long now, and now we will be seeing that happening in just 5 minutes from now. And as you can see, you can see some this ice flakes
Ground measurement
on the
system
rocket,
is activated by run 1 command.
and that is totally nominal.
5 minutes now until launch. Onboard systems have been switched to onboard control. The commander's cockpit displays and controls have been activated, and the crew members are closing their helmets, putting them on suit oxygen.
Okay. Lab rat says, how long is there a launch window tonight? Well, they have an instantaneous launch window, so yeah, they don't have any backup time. They have an instantaneous launch window. If they miss it, then they would have to schedule it for some other day.
Four minutes and counting now until Cade Rubins, Sergey Kud-Sverchkov, and Sergey Ryzhikov make their way to the International Space Station. At this point, fuel lines and other elements of the rocket engines are being purged with nitrogen to fireproof them by removing vapors of fuel and oxidizer.
Exactly. Soul Musician says, NASA, all officers, happy journey all days. Thanks to you. Thanks all of you. Exactly. We wish them all the best. How to get inside the rocket with fairing? Well, they first get in and then they assemble it. What is the no return time? I didn't understand it. If you are asking when they will return back to Earth, well, they have a mission duration of 6 months, so after 6 months they will.
Three minutes and counting now till today's liftoff at 12:45 a.m. Central Time.
Ground filling of oxidizer and nitrogen to the vehicle is terminated.
Boosters fuel tanks now being pressurized for flight, optimizing the flow of fuel and helping to add structural support to the rocket.
Oh, what is the no return time? Oh, okay, like that. What we have in space, the
When you have a chance,
engines.
because...
I mean, it's the aircraft. We don't have something like that in rocket science.
What about my watch?
We do have some abort sequence,
Pressurization?
which can happen at t-0 seconds also. We have seen those happening in the other rockets. So yeah, that must answer your question. So does not have any no return time. Anytime at till t-minus 0 second, we can abort
2
the
minutes
launch.
left before today's liftoff.
It is not blocked with fairing Soviet. Actually, it is blocked, but they first go inside and then all those things happen. So we are now just 2 minutes from the launch, guys. It is now getting real, and I can feel it, you can feel it, and they can also feel it, right?
Back with an inside view looking at Sergey Ryzhikov and Sergey Kud-Sverchkov. 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go before liftoff. Ground propellant feed has now been terminated.
This will actually go away, Soviet Army. Like fairings just detach, this will also detach. Once they get inside it, like fairings only, they will detach, and they will then, the spacecraft will be exposed to space. Yes, Peter.
1 minute to go. Soyuz
1
is now
minute
on
to go.
internal power.
And vehicle is in internal power, which means it is not getting power from the launch pad, and everything is go for launch. Let's hope this is a total success. And
As we speak, the space station's flying directly over the Baikonur Cosmodrome in the launch pad. At the time of launch, the station will be 339 miles above the Soyuz as it leaves the pad.
And yes, and we are now just
There's the first
30
umbilical tower
seconds
separating from the booster.
from the launch. Wow. What they can think in space, they must be very excited to leave now. Exactly. So T minus 20 seconds. 19, 18, 17,
Launch.
16, 15,
Second umbilical
14,
now separating.
13, 12,
Ignition.
11, 10,
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
ignition, and
And
liftoff of the
Kate Rubins,
Soyuz
Sergey
vehicle
Ryzhikov,
to
and
the
Sergey
International
Kud-Sverchkov now
Space
on their way to the
Station.
International Space Station, the latest in a chain that spans almost 20 years of continuous human
Wow.
presence in space.
Wow.
10
Wow.
seconds. The parameters of the rocket are nominal.
Everything is looking nominal.
20 seconds. The thrusters of the first and second stage are operating nominally.
Hearing first good reports of good first stage performance, everything looking nominal. Soyuz is
That's
currently
so good
delivering
to hear.
930,000 pounds of thrust from its 4 boosters and single engine of that first stage. It measures 68 feet in length and 24 feet in diameter and burns liquid fuel for the first 2 minutes and 6 seconds of flight.
50 seconds. The pressure in the chambers is nominal.
I would love
Everything
to
is
see
good
the
on board.
inside
We
view
feel
of
well.
the module. And how are they feeling?
Good reports
How
from
are
the
the
crew
experience?
as well. Everything
Here
looking
we
good
go.
for
The
today's flight.
contrails
Yaw
perfectly
roll
normal. No
nominally.
worries with that.
Roll pitch, y'all, all normal, meaning the spacecraft is exactly where it's expected to be at this point. Velocity is 1,100 miles per hour. The first stage of the Soyuz, less than a minute of flight time left now.
Now the event which will be coming
80
up
seconds. Parameters are
is
nominal.
the booster separation.
On board, everything is good. We feel well. We feel the G loads.
Yes.
First milestone we'll be watching for here is the escape tower jettison, which will come at the 1 minute and 54 second mark, a little less than 10 seconds now.
Yes. So escape tower will be jettisoned now, and after here we go. I think escape tower has
Jettison.
jettisoned. Okay, so here
Escape
we
tower
go.
has been
And
jettisoned.
we can see those beautiful cross forming there.
Separation of the side units.
And there's the separation of the 4 strap-on boosters that are jettisoned.
Wow.
These have completed their job and are dropping away now at an altitude of 28 miles above the Earth, while the Soyuz continues on with its flight, traveling at about 3,350 miles an hour, powered by the rocket's second or core stage.
40 seconds.
Here we
Rocket
have the
parameters are nominal.
All still looking good, and the next milestone we're looking for is the jettison of the launch shroud at 2 minutes and 37 seconds.
and here we go. The launch shroud is jettisoned.
And you see that launch shroud jettisoned. We're now getting some views from the external rocket camera
Copy you.
looking towards the bottom of this rocket and at the Earth below, solar arrays waiting to be unfurled once the spacecraft reaches orbit safely.
Borislav says, when is the maximum
Soyuz
load
traveling at a speed
experience?
of 4,700 miles an hour at this point.
Well, I don't know about
On
it,
board,
but
everything is good. We feel well.
they do experience that
Continuing to
in the
hear
middle
good
of the
calls from the
flight.
crew. The core stage
one
performing as expected.
time.
Core stage of the Soyuz is 56 feet in length and 13.5 feet in diameter with single engine and 4 fuel chambers providing between 178,000 and 222,000 pounds of thrust at various points of its 3 minutes and 28 seconds of operation.
We are anticipating the next separation. Copy all.
It would
This
have been
stage will
so
continue to
better
burn
if
until
we,
the 4 minute and 43 second mark.
if we could have got the milestones also, as in when
Soyuz
they will
uses what's
they
called
are
a
coming.
hot stage technique, meaning third stage ignites while the second is still burning.
Okay.
230 seconds stabilization of the craft is doing well.
4 minutes into the ascent of Soyuz MS-17 now, Kate Rubins, Sergey Ryzhikov, and Sergey Kud-Sverchkov on their way to the International Space Station following today's 12:45 a.m. Central launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan.
250 seconds pitch raw and rotation is nominal.
Everything continuing to go well in the climb to orbit. We'll be looking for a next second stage cutoff coming up at the 4-minute and 45-second mark, about 15 seconds from now.
Exactly. And yes, Soviet Army, the stage 1 is very long indeed. I should say the second stage, the main, because we have the boosters and then we have the center stage. So yeah, you can say that.
4 minutes and 45 seconds in, third stage is igniting. Second stage should be shutting down.
There we go. We can see the third stage igniting.
We have confirmation of the initiation of thrusters of the second,
and there goes the
third
interstage.
And unpowering of thrusters of the second stage. Copy all. We feel well. Everything is nominal on board.
Okay.
As you heard there, everything's still looking good. Core booster separated at an altitude of 105 miles, and with it gone, Soyuz is now being propelled by a single engine of its third stage. That engine provides 67,000 pounds of thrust and will burn for 4 minutes and 2 seconds.
Borislav, that will be
Days
a very
going
good question
smoothly
to
and
ask.
all systems working nominally. The crew
they should have that
reporting
in there.
they are feeling good
SpaceX
on
does
their way to
have
the space station.
SpaceX does have those altimeter and speedometer. I am not confirmed about the Russia, but they should have, because the astronaut should know as in what speed they are going on, and if everything is good or not.
50 seconds flight is nominal.
So I assume they must have that.
Copy. Everything is good on board.
Russia does not show that info. Okay, lab rat, if you know that, I don't know, but it would be very surprising, because this thing astronauts should know, because they are sitting in a
About
rocket,
2
and if it
minutes
is not
left before
powering
the
up,
crew is officially in space and in orbit.
then it is a very bad sign
The
for
next
them.
milestone that we'll be watching for comes
okay,
at the 8-minute and 46-second mark. That's the third stage cutoff and separation.
Copy. Everything is good on board. We feel well.
I'm not confirmed about it, but yeah, that's a very good question you asked. I am confirmed about the SpaceX. They do show that, but
400
don't know about
seconds
this.
stabilization of the vehicle is steady. Copy. Everything is good on board.
Crew still calling down that everything is looking good inside the Soyuz rocket. You're seeing a view from cameras on the exterior of the Soyuz here, looking down towards the bottom of the rocket. And in the forescreen, the solar array that will unfold once the crew does make it safely to orbit.
Everything is good on board. We feel well.
Yes, they will reach around 26,700 km per estimate, which is around 7.2 kilometers per second. It's like that, and you can see the speed also, the 5713, that's the meters per second. I think that's the speed only, and the altitude is 200
7.5 minutes
kilometers.
into today's flight. Velocity of the Soyuz is 13,500 miles an hour. Once this final third stage delivers the Soyuz to orbit and the module is separated, a series of pre-programmed commands will be executed to prepare the Soyuz for orbital operations. Those stored commands are called time tag commands and allow many of the Soyuz systems to be automatically activated by onboard computers at precise times stored in the computers.
470 seconds. The thrusters.
About 45 seconds left before the crew is on orbit and safely in space. Everything's still looking good for today's flight.
That is so good to hear. And yeah, they have a good CGI to support this animation and this mission, I should say. Speed in Russian, yes. So that is the they are saying. We can see that.
500 seconds. Flight is nominal. Copy all. Everything is good on board. We are standing by for the separation. 520 seconds. Everything is nominal. Prepare for the separation.
There we go. We have the engine cut off, and now there we go.
530 seconds.
The spacecraft
Thrusters powered
has
off
separated
confirmed.
from the. Oh
Separation
wow.
is confirmed.
And there you heard this confirmation that the third stage cut off and separated as planned. Single liquid-fueled engine
Now,
shut down and
we
dropped
can see
away at an
those solar
altitude of
panels being
126
deployed.
miles above the Earth. And there you see now also the Soyuz have unfurled. That's a key milestone as well to ensure that the Soyuz is able to power itself on its journey to the International Space Station.
Tabors, this is MCC Moscow. We copy you. How do you read us? We read you loud and clear. How about us? Loud and clear.
Control of the spacecraft from this point will be overseen by the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow that you're hearing call to the crew now.
Closed. And pressurization is nominal. Copy. We are working on the video. Video is on. Copy RDR 856. Okay, we copy you. And also we are pulling up the velocity screen display. MCC Moscow, please take the measurements for this current time. 811, pressure 814. Copy.
Following today's launch just 10 minutes ago now at 12:45 a.m. Central Time, Kate Rubins, Sergey Ryzhikov, and Sergey Kud-Sverchkov are now safely in orbit and on their way to the International Space Station following a flawless launch and 8.5-minute climb to orbit. We'll be working through some initial checkouts now, but everything is looking good as they head off on the first two-orbit rendezvous for a human crew with the space station. That's scheduled for 3:52 a.m. Central Time when they'll dock to the Rosvet module on the Russian segment of the space station.
Okay, yes, Borislav, thank you. NASA, good night from Houston. Okay.
The second set of the course hardware is powered on. Copy.
Now they are just performing the final checks and the mission is kind of successful
and heard
for
there
the
that
rocket.
the Kurs antenna that will be used to guide the Soyuz to its automated docking passed its checkout. That's one of the key milestones that occurs once the Soyuz does reach orbit.
Copy.
Also be doing some leak checks and communication checkouts, making sure everything is looking good as the Soyuz heads on its way.
Exactly. So, guys, this was the launch which you just saw, and why they are Soviet Army says why Russian rocket camera always error. They actually don't produce any error. Actually, what happened is the quality as well as the placement of the camera. That's what is the thing.
Angular rates.
That's why you are not able to get a proper view.
The pitch and yaw are less than 10 degrees. Copy. Standing by for your filled out form 03. You ready to copy? Yes, we are. 17.4, 16.4, 368, 20, 2.021, 1.822, 3024.
Yes, Soviet Army, you can see the MS-17 docking, but
24, 19.3,
the docking process is very, you can say, time-consuming to watch. I mean, it's kind of boring.
Propellant 878.
You will not get any, you can
Tabor
say,
2, we have copied the data
the thing which we get during a launch.
Check the configuration.
So if you want, you can do that.
MCC Moscow. We have GSO-1. And KV-1 and 2. We are going through the test of the first set of the hardware. Okay, Tabor, after the first burn, we will Transition to the first manifold. Okay. Copy. We will transition to the first manifold. After the first approach burn, once you receive the GSO, let's do tests of the manual controls at 09:53:00. It is written in your procedures.
Как приняли фаворы?
Tabors, how do you copy?
Фаворы СУПа Москвы.
Tabors, MCC Moscow.
So guys, I think we are good for the launch, and we have seen everything now, and it's time to just wrap up. And yes, elaborate, if you want, you can go and watch it. The docking part also, it will be around 3 hours from now, so
Copy. We hear you now.
you can watch it on NASA
We
TV.
also hear you well. Copy.
And then
The test before the side burn.
so guys, if I want to conclude for what happened today, we saw a beautiful view of inside the capsule, and we also saw the pre-launch activities which astronauts perform so as to get into the rocket as well as prepare themselves for the launch, and that was pretty good to see. Also, we witnessed something, we learned more about the rocket, as in there were the questions and you people were so interactive, and I really like that. And finally we were able to see this beauty lift off from the launch pad, and we were that view was really amazing to watch. And after that it just went away and away and away, and we were just seeing that saw the beautiful separation of the booster, also the Coriolis cross, as we all say that, and it was really delightful to watch. And finally, after everything, we have a successful spacecraft separation, and the solar panel deployment, and finally they will pass these checks also. Now the thing will be is to get to the ISS, that will be scheduled in 3 hours from now, and finally dock to it, and completion of the mission will be there. So thank you so much everyone. Did anyone see the UFO? I didn't see it, but if you were seeing anything, a foreign object or something like that during the view of the onboard camera, that must be some part of the rocket only, maybe ice or the interstage. And yeah, Inca monitored the third stage separation. Okay. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is all we got for today, and some days from now, around 5 days or 4 days from now, we have SpaceX Starlink mission scheduled. So I'll be streaming that. So tune in for that. I'll be there with you around T minus to 30 minutes from the launch. And until then, this is Priyanshu Roila, and you just saw Rocket Gyan. Stay safe, stay healthy, and
The crew
bye
experienced
bye.
about 1.7 times the force of gravity, and by the time it saw the rocket